Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Next Gen Podcast. I got my boy here, John Urena. He's doing some great stuff out here on the strength and conditioning side with a lot of youth, high school, and even pro baseball players. So definitely keep an eye out. If you're a baseball guy, you definitely want to talk to this man right here. He's the one. What's up, bro? I appreciate you coming out, man.
Man, thanks for having me. This is awesome. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, I know, man.
We talked about you starting your podcast.
Yeah.
This is dope.
No, man, you were a big help. Obviously, before I even started this, I brought you in to help me figure out the space, and so thank you for that. You know, you were a big part of that. You're a big stepping stone, in getting here. So
I'm glad I could help, because it's not easy doing the podcast.
Nah.
Man. It's not. And I think people going into it, right? They think oh, it's just I can just toss on a video camera and I can ask some questions, and you could.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of work that goes into it. There's your style, how you want it to look, how you want it to sound, what's your vibe, who you're gonna have on, you know, all those things. So it's props to you even putting in the work. It's tough,
thanks.
Man.
No, thanks, man. Obviously you have a background in that. So I'm just trying to learn from you, man.
Hey, man. Anything I can do to help, I'll help you.
Yeah. No, thanks. Well, here let's start with this. We'll get to that stuff because I think it ties in really well. But let's tell me about where you're from and a little bit of your upbringing up till now.
Yeah, I grew up in NorCal, so I'm a California boy all through and through.
Yeah.
NorCal for the first 23 years of my life. Came to SoCal when I was 23 to finish school, and then finished school, broadcast journalism. That's kind of why I love doing the podcast stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then became a personal trainer because I had gone through a big transformation in weight loss when I was 20. And I've always been an athlete, so I played 5 sports growing up. Played college football. I was a kicker at a college up in NorCal, and it was an interesting experience coming here and then having people go how'd you lose weight? All right, so that's kind of what got me started off into the training world, and I was I'm an athlete, so kind of just 10 years later, you're oh wow, I'm graduated from school and now I'm training and I'm doing podcasting and now I'm a strength coach. So it was a big journey of that growth from going to college to becoming a strength coach to seeing my professional career mold itself. But yeah, man, NorCal to SoCal. And I'm not gonna leave Cal probably.
Yeah, probably.
It's too nice for me.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna go either.
Yeah, it's nice here, man.
Yeah, actually, I don't even know. Maybe I do know, but tell me about your parents. What do your parents do, or what did they do growing up?
One, they gave me the number one quality, which was kindness and respect. They're the kindest, nicest people you'll meet, and hard workers. They're immigrants. They're from Dominican Republic from my dad, and my mom's from Puerto Rico. Okay. And grew up in the 50s and 60s, you know what I mean? My dad he didn't even graduate 8th grade or go to high school. Yeah. He was working on a farm. Yeah, damn. So you just think about you're wow, he came from the Dominican Republic, chopping things with a machete at the age of 12. He worked on this was crazy. I actually learned this about him last year, that he worked for the general of the Dominican Republic Army. Whoa. As a servant boy. Damn. And so you kind of put that in perspective of and I'm sitting here in a studio booth in LA, this is pretty wild, right? So, hard work and determination came from them. Kindness. My mom is she's the most innocent, but also at the same time, she likes to joke around and she likes to be goofy, and so I've definitely gotten that from her and them. So I love that they taught me to love. I love that they taught me to be kind, to work hard, and to laugh. That's what it's kind of what when anyone meets my parents, it's kind of that's what they do. They bring them in. That's great. They're very welcoming. So that's where my family's from. I got 2 brothers and a sister. Okay. All smart people. My sister's a pharmacist. Okay. She works in the ER pharmacy. Oh, wow. My brother's an ER nurse, and then my other brother works for Medtronics. Okay. And he does he started out as electronic stuff, pacemakers, heart rate monitors, things like that. And then his team started developing more stuff, and then now he's he's bigwig up there. He's way up in Medtronics. So cool. It's cool. Everyone's in the medical industry somehow helping people, and kind of tying back to my parents. My dad was a mailman for 30 years. Wow. And then he also was a car salesman at the same time. So he hustled, you know what I mean? My mom, she was a medical receptionist at Kaiser. Mm-hmm. And then she was an interpreter also, so because she spoke Spanish. Right. So for her, it was the receptionist, secretary life, but then also she helped to interpret things for patients who couldn't speak English. So. Right. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, man. It's wild.
That's crazy. I didn't know that both of your parents are immigrants.
Yeah.
I knew one of them was obviously because your last name, but damn, it's like kind of connecting those dots is kind of crazy.
Technically, I'm a first generation American because my brothers and my sister were born in Puerto Rico, which is a territory of the U.S.
Yeah.
But like here in the States, like I was the first one born in the States.
Wow.
So it's pretty wild.
That is wild. That's cool. Okay, so fast forward to, so you played baseball in college?
I didn't play baseball in college. I played through high school.
Okay.
I played basketball through 8th grade. Like I did travel teams for almost every sport. So
Okay.
like I played travel basketball. I played travel soccer. Soccer I played through freshman year of high school. Baseball I played through junior year of high school. Tried out for the senior year. Got cut. I ended up getting an abscess in my throat, which is I don't want to like gross everyone out, but like essentially it's like having a giant pimple in your throat.
Oh wow.
And I couldn't breathe. Like I lost
Dang.
It was crazy because like that whole fall I'd like gotten in shape. I was playing fall ball. I was training. Come like January when tryouts happened, I got sick and I couldn't I lost 20 pounds in like
Damn.
a month because I just couldn't eat because it was just like it was rough. So
Damn.
then the coach gave me like an extra tryout. Didn't make it. And he was like, look, I can't. And I'm like, I get it. Like, you know. So baseball kind of went by the wayside. And then I joined old man softball leagues from there on out. So it was just like since I was 18, just playing a lot of softball. Then I played college football. I kicked football in high school. Then didn't play junior year, senior year. And honestly, I was out of shape. I was not in good shape anymore. I was kind of away from sports. And it's got where I got really competitive. And I just think I got a little lost, and I was just like, I don't want to put in all this time. I wasn't having fun anymore. But come college time, I was like, man, I really miss being in competition. Yeah. And I was like, I could try to play baseball right now. I could probably do something if I really hustled. But then I was like, I kicked in high school and I loved it. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try to lose them. I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to go get stronger. I'm going to go get my kicking shoes and I'm going to start kicking again. And I did. I went out and did all 70 pounds in like a year. Started lifting weights again, started getting in shape, and yeah, man, got on the field and started kicking for the team. It was pretty dope. It was cool.
Where was that?
Diablo Valley College, junior college up in NorCal. Yeah, it's good. It was like for a junior college, it was really well run, and we played a lot of pretty good teams here in California. We didn't go like outside the state or anything like that, but a lot of guys who were going to like city college who were ready to go to SC once their grades went up. So we played a lot of pretty good guys, and like I got rocked a couple times even as a kicker. Like I definitely got a concussion for sure. Yeah. But it was cool. Yeah, man. It was fun.
That's dope. Okay, so you play college sports. When did you come down to LA?
2010, August of 2010. Okay. Moved here.
Oh, dope. Damn, I was just starting my freshman year of college. Damn, that's crazy.
It is wild. I was what was that? Technically that was my 3rd year of college. I stayed like an extra semester and a half to play football, honestly.
Got it.
I could have left earlier, but I was like, I want to play.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I wasn't playing down here. Like I was not going to play anywhere else.
Right. So what'd you do? You moved down here?
Man, I was kind of lost, honestly, especially when it came to training, because, and this is something that I'm pretty passionate about, is like helping ex-athletes find a way to train.
Right.
Because we were just talking about this, your friend, and like even for you, like you played sports, so everything's so regimented in college. Yeah. And I had a job, so like you have your work hours and you got your school hours, you got your classes, and you had your training sessions and your practice, and all that was done for you. So when you come down, or when you're done with that, you kind of go out and you're like, well, I know how we trained for football, I know how I trained for baseball. How do I just train now? How do I work out? Right. And I think at the time, like bodybuilding obviously was like huge, right? So I think that's like the main thing that most people go into after. Yeah. Because that's what you know. And so like I got into the lifting that way. I got into training that way. And I was like, I didn't enjoy it though. There was never a time where like I thoroughly enjoyed doing the same lifts over and over. Yeah. Because that's not who I am. It's not in my DNA. So it took me a minute to kind of gather that and really understand like how to lift and how to be in shape outside of an actual sport. Right. But it kind of, I kind of brought it all to the forefront, where it was like, I play golf, I play soccer, I play basketball, and like I still actively will play sports, but I realized I'm like, I need to be able to train for these things too. And it can't just be bodybuilding and then you're going to go out in the field and like run because you're going to hurt something.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like pretty typical though. That's what everyone does.
And that's what I mean. It's like, it sucks because like I don't think there's like an after school program because there's really not like, you don't really know what to do. You know, and I think a lot of athletes are kind of in that way. It's like, you know how to work out because you know that mentality of having to earn the weight room, you know, the accolades and, you know, getting on the field and playing. Like you had to earn those things.
Yeah.
What are you doing after that?
Right.
And that's kind of where I kind of lost myself a little bit in that because you really don't know what to do. And, you know, and you learn along the way. And now it's, you know, after 20 years of learning this stuff and, you know, like you finally get to understand like how to do it for yourself. But it took a minute. For sure it took a minute.
No, for sure. So, hold on. I gotta take a step back.
Yeah.
So you were journalism major?
Broadcast journalism.
Broadcast journalism major. Okay. So I remember we talked about this a while back, but obviously, so at some point you wanted to be what on TV?
Oh man, I wanted to be on radio. I wanted to do sports broadcast, like play-by-play.
That's right. That's what it was. Yeah.
Because I have the face for radio. That was my like. I always would say that. I'm like, yo, I got the face for radio. I got the voice for it. I do not need to be on camera. Well, fast forward, I'm on camera now, but that's okay. Like I'm good with that. No, man, it was all I wanted to do. I was lucky enough at the time. My girlfriend at the time, like her dad was friends with he was a director for like Comcast at the time.
Okay.
And so they did like in the affiliate of the Oakland A's, which was the Stockton Ports. They did their games, and he was like, "Would you like to broadcast the game?" I was like, "Yeah." Are you kidding me? You're asking me if I want to broadcast a minor league baseball game? I was like, "Absolutely." Single A, I don't care what it is, and I got to do it next to a professional who was like so kind and so nice. And I loved it. I did. So I finished school with it. Like I even came down here. Like I said, I went to Cal State Los Angeles, and awesome program, just awesome teachers, staff who have been in the field, who've worked there. We got to meet a lot of really cool broadcasters like Bob Miller. Got to go into Vince Scully's office. Like
cool.
we did really cool things, and got to meet Jim Hill. He's on CBS here in LA. So like we got to do a lot of cool, fun stuff like that, and I got exposed to a lot of those things. And I love this. I love microphones. I love just being able to talk about the things that we're passionate about. Yeah, man, and I graduated, but the problem is if you want to get into the industry, I had one interview with ESPN, and it wasn't even for like internship stuff. It was all for sales, and I don't even think I passed the first round. So it was like, okay, well, what can I do? At the time, I was in a relationship where I'm here in LA, and if you decide that you want to get on, like, say, in Nebraska, or if you want to go to, like, Oklahoma, you can get onto a local news station for sure, but that means you got to move over there.
Right.
And I was just like, look, I'm going to give myself 6 months to a year to find a job. If that doesn't work, I'm going to go the physical therapy route. Because at the time, when I was graduating, I was a personal trainer. I was getting into the field a lot, and I was like, you know what? Like, I'm digging this. I really enjoy this. I could see the corrective exercise stuff was becoming a thing. Physical therapy was becoming a thing. And that's when I was like, well, maybe I'll veer off this way now. Because I didn't get a job in the broadcasting world.
Got it.
But it's probably the best thing that's happened to me, in all honesty.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. Before we talk about training, well, I guess this is talking about training. So, obviously, you were in this major in school.
Mm-hmm.
Whole like list of like skill sets associated with this industry, this job, this position, whatever. Do you see any crossover? Not only just crossover from broadcasting to training, but like, are there any like skill sets from broadcasting that you see you actively like using in training?
For sure. I think they probably correlate with life a lot too, but openness, like being open to adjusting and being on the fly, especially with training. You know, you can see a client or yourself, if you're training, like you might be exhausted one day. Maybe you had a lot of stress going on. You know, maybe there's something for like this stuff. Maybe something's not looking right on camera. Maybe it's not sounding right. Like, how do you adjust? What can we do that's next?
Right.
So I think the process is a big thing, and being able to adjust on the fly and being adaptable.
Yeah, nice.
That's number one. I'd say creativity and fun. Like, I think this stuff allows you to do that. It allows you to have some fun. It allows you to just be relaxed, and training does that for me too. Like, I can come up with moves. I can come up with different ways to teach somebody something and connect with them.
Right.
And that kind of does the same thing for me too. Is like, I connect with people here, and the same thing with training. Like, if you can give them something that is valuable and something that they can take home and like use for themselves, that's kind of that's kind of the same thing, right? Like, that's what we want from this. We want people to be able to take one idea from every episode, one idea from every training session.
Right.
and that just makes you a better human. So like those two are the biggest things I would say like correlate.
No, I mean, I totally see that with you. I would say like you're easily one of the most creative coaches I've seen. So
that's I appreciate. That's a big honor, like coming from you. And you've worked in a lot of different places. You've worked with some great coaches. So I'm definitely taking that one.
Yeah, take it, bro. No, man, you're always tinkering. Every time I walk into the weight room, you're always tinkering with the strap or tinkering with whatever it is. And I love to see it, because like that's constant curiosity, and like that's something that's like. Something I pride myself on is like constant curiosity, just because I'm like Kobe faithful, and and that's something that he preached. Like that's when people say Mamba mentality, they think of like waking up at 3 a.m. and working hard and this and that. Like sure, but like what Mamba mentality means to me is constant curiosity and like always being a student of the game, whatever that game is for you, and like. For sure. And I got to embody that. Obviously, when I was at Mamba, I got to embody that, and we got to talk about that sort of stuff. And, anyways, whatever.
No, it's funny because like I think it's an important thing. Like the Mamba mentality, it can get kind of taken out of context because people think like it's this gung ho thing. You got to be up, like you said, 3 a.m. in the morning. You're just like you're a savage 24/7. It's like he was a human too, and I guarantee you, if Kobe was here, he would tell you that same concept. Like it's a balance. Like you're like constantly going. You're doing the best you possibly can, but like. You're human at the same time. You gotta meet yourself in the middle there somewhere.
There's also like, it's purposeful like training or purposeful like commitment to your time. Like and that's what like that's he worked hard towards to be something, to do something, to pursue something. And he applied that whether it was to basketball or to film or or to writing or what I'm saying, whatever it was. And but like what he did, what people don't talk about, what he did that I love, because I feel like I did that too, is I picked up the phone and I obviously through Instagram or phone calls or whatever, like I hit people up and I was like, hey, you're great at what you do, like can I learn from you? Absolutely. Can I shadow from you? Can I volunteer my time?
I think it's so important that people do that. Yeah, especially if you are already in the industry, whatever your industry is, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter training, doesn't matter teaching. Right. You reach out and tell someone that you want to learn from them, 99% of the time they're going to say yes.
You just have to approach them in the right way, but of course. Like, all right, so you moved down to LA and you got your first training gig. Yep. So tell me about your first training gig and where was it and what was it like?
So there's this place called Meridian Sports Clubs, and I'll never forget that place because it brought me a lot of experience in the good ways and also the bad ways, because the gym life is very funny, especially when it's like a smaller gym. You know what I mean? Like it's not like an Equinox or an LA Fitness in the sense of you're seeing like thousands of people a day. Yeah. You're probably seeing like 300 to 500 people a day. You know what I mean? And I worked the front desk at first. And then I became the operations manager. And while I was doing that and going to school, I was studying for my NASM. So like I was doing all these things at the same time, kind of just got fed into that world. Ended up quitting my other job so I could pursue all that stuff. Became a trainer, and it was cool, man. Like I loved it immediately just because I was helping people. Right. And I'm a very social person, so like having conversations with people and just being able to show them what I had learned. And I was a baby at the time, so like I knew nothing, right? So like, but I was always leading with the positivity and like the enthusiasm, and like that's where I think a lot of my buy-in was coming from people. And I mean, I'm still working with my first ever paying client. Like, which is wild to me. Damn. Yeah, so I still program for him, and then he also, I see him once a week, normally once a week. It's been a little sporadic lately just because summer, but, so it's pretty cool to see that, like, carryover. And I've had some clients for over a decade. Like, I have 2 more clients that have been with me for over a decade. And so, like, having that and seeing that longevity, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to have those relationships, and you start to build a special bond. But yeah, man, that was the start. They all came from that gym too. Wow. So, but once I left that gym, I think I spent like 3 years there, and I was like, I could do this on my own. Yeah. And so I did. I just started going to people's homes all over LA, and then it's word of mouth. This person tells that person, that person tells that person, and then all of a sudden you have a good clientele. And obviously you have to put work into it. It's not just like gonna be done for you. But yeah, man, it led to that, and then it led to me going like, all right, maybe physical therapy is the way I want to go. So I started becoming a physical therapy aide. I was working in a physical therapy clinic for like a year total. and I was doing all the prereqs, and I was going to go to school, going to this school. I went to Northridge to see if I wanted to go to that program. I went to SC to see if I wanted to go to that program. Long Beach, I talked to all these teachers and counselors, and I was like, man, like, I could do this and drop $150,000 to $200,000 on school, but then it's going to cut into my income that I already have. Coming out of college, let's say I do that program, it's a 30% drop from what I'm making right now as a personal trainer, as an incoming physical therapist. And I was like, this just doesn't add up. Like, I'd rather just go do all the education on my own, not to be a PT, but I was like, I want knowledge. I don't need to be a specific thing. I just want knowledge so I can help whoever's in front of me. And that's kind of the way I went about it.
That sounds like me. It's pretty similar.
Because you were thinking physical therapy too, right?
Yeah, coming out of school. Yeah. That's pretty similar to me. Yeah, for me it was like physical therapy, because like that's kind of the direction that Northridge pushes you in, the kinesiology department.
I can see that.
It's either like personal training, group fitness, or physical therapy. And strength and conditioning was like kind of pretty much non-existent. I didn't even know what strength and conditioning really was. We took like one class, and I was just like, yeah, rugby, because the professor was Australian. So like,
I met him.
Robert Lockie.
Yes.
Yeah, he was cool, man. Smart dude. Published a lot of research. Had a crazy shoe game.
Nice.
But never was shut up about rugby. But no, he was like my first exposure. We did like all of it went over my head. I don't know how, I don't know why, but like we would do like linear speed, linear speed with like timing gates, and we would do whatever. I don't even remember what else we did. We did obviously lifting and whatever.
Yeah.
And all of it went over my head. I was just like not interested. I don't know why. And then everything flipped on its head when I met Tim DeFrancesco at the NSCA conference after I graduated. That's
a good one.
And I was like, whoa, you train Kobe. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You work for the Lakers. I'm, fucking, it's like the dream, Right. And I was like, you get paid for this shit? Like, it's crazy. And I was just geeking out. And then I was like, okay, because Tim's a PT, I need to be a PT. He was dual certified.
Right.
I was like, okay, well, if you're dual certified, I need to be dual certified, And then that's when I like kind of went down the rabbit hole, and I did PT, and I was working for pro sports in Israel, and that was my first exposure to pro sports, and then I also did the clinical side too, and I worked with the American football team out there, like the IFL out there.
Yep.
So I had like 3 crazy like experiences in sports medicine, call it, on that side of things. And it was cool, but I didn't love it. And then I soon found out, I was like, I'm not going to drop the bread and the time just to be a PT, just so I can be a coach. Yep. Just so I can be a dual certified coach.
Just to have like the certificate, the title. And I was because
I
think that's what I was like. I was like, oh, it'd be so cool to have that.
Totally. Same.
And you're like, why?
Yeah. And I was just like, I can just gather the knowledge myself. I can just be constantly curious myself, Yep. And that's pretty much what I did. So, no, that's dope. So going into that from there, you were, you're doing house calls, you're doing privates, whatever.
Yep.
How did you get into the high school side of things?
So it's pretty wild. Facebook, of all things, had an ad back in 2016, maybe 2017.
Mm-hmm.
I was training, business was going fine. I had my clientele. And I saw this ad on Facebook for Athletes Acceleration. I was like, I'd never heard of it. Only thing I'd heard of at that point was NSCA, right? Okay. Maybe the NCHSS, or I can't even remember, the National High School, whatever theirs is. Okay. I'd seen those before. Okay. So I'd never seen this Athletes Acceleration before, but I saw this promo video they did, and they did a great job on it, and it was cool. It looked very communal. It looked like, hey, we're teaching you guys how to do sports. We're teaching you guys how to train for sports. And it was cool because a lot of the stuff that I saw was a lot of stuff that we did in college, in my college football program. Okay. And it's cool looking back on it now. The coach that we had was pretty progressive for that time of like, you know what I mean? Because like back when we were in college, like S&C was a baby. Yeah. Still, even though it was developed, but it was a baby. Now it's like it's taken another level. But back then it was cool to see that, like in hindsight. But I was learning all that, so I saw that ad and I was like, I need to be there. I don't know what it was. I was just like, I need to be there. Sick. And so I signed up for the conference. It was at the University of Laverne over in Pomona, not far from us. Got it. This was 2017, and like I was a baby, man. I walked in and like I was just like to myself, like. because I was scared. It was like nerve wracking because you got all these coaches who've worked with, pro athletes, and you got these guys who are a team of coaches who, they have a business down in, El Segundo, and then you have one over here who's down in Carlsbad. And so you're meeting all these different coaches. But the coolest part about it, man, was it was so communal and so welcoming. And it was so different than being a personal trainer, because personal training in LA is very glamorous.
It can be.
It can be very glamorous, right? And what I mean by that is I think if you go from gym to gym, you'll see a lot of trainers can be very, and I'm not gonna say stuck up or uptight. It's just more we're here for glam. You know what I mean? And that's cool. Yeah. It's just not my style.
Yeah.
It's just not my thing. And I'm very no one really wanted to help necessarily. Where it was just what can I do to help you? And it was whoa, this is different.
Right.
And the knowledge and the way that they spoke and answering questions and all these big things that I had thought about, but about life and just how it would tie into training, but never really could articulate it. They articulated it for me.
Yeah. Nice.
And so there was just all these finishing sentences for me, all these finishing lines, and it just kind of made sense. And I came back from that and told my lady at the time, I was like, I don't want to do PT. I need to be a coach, a performance coach. This is what I live for. This is awesome. It's be around athletes all the time and get to have that as my training. So that's what kind of led me into that. And then so what I started to do as soon as I got back, all the high schools was who needs a volunteer? And I lived at the time right down the street from Hollywood High, so I was like, yo, do you guys need help? I would love to come help. So I reached out to the baseball program, and then they hooked me up with the football program. So I ended up working baseball and football, and then just having all these kids, and I was volunteering my time because I was I just need experience. And so that's what I did, man. I just showed up. I ended up becoming the kicking coach for the football team also, because I kicked in college, so it was cool to have that as well. But it was wild to it was pretty cool to have friends and family, friends come out who would be filming for me, because they would do some films for me. It was so nice, and to see myself on camera training 60 kids at a time was whoa, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It felt really good, and so I was I could do this. I could definitely see myself doing this, and so from there, man, it just kept going. Just kept volunteering. I wasn't even making money. I was I need to practice.
Yeah.
So that's what led me down the road.
That's sick. Okay, so but keep going. So where did that go?
Next, I started getting some of those high school kids started working with me.
Right. I figured,
and which was really cool to see. So I started working with some football guys, and then some of the baseball kids. We would do after school stuff at the high school, and that lasted 2 years. And then I'm trying to think of, I think it kind of, I don't remember honestly what happened in 2019, but I was still working with athletes. It was I was kind of stuck, honestly. I have personal training clients, but I don't really want to just be personal training. I don't want to be driving all over the place. I want to do S&C. I want to do performance stuff. And I kept honestly going to just tons of conferences. Athletes Acceleration had a bunch of conferences. NSCA had conferences out here in LA.
Right.
Smaller conferences like Dr. Craig Liebenson, he had one in 2021. So I've gone to different kinds. I flew out to Jersey and went to this other cool one. Actually, I went to and then Athletes Acceleration had a sister company called the NSPA.
Okay.
The National Sports Performance Association.
That's the one that
we were supposed to go to.
What? Did I miss it? I missed it.
They canceled it because unfortunately the owner, he's been dealing with cancer for the past few years.
Wow.
Dude, he had to take took out his psoas.
Whoa, what?
They took out his psoas muscle because that's where the cyst was. Yeah, it was wild. So he had to learn to walk again, and so I just think he was overwhelmed. And I also feel post-COVID, it was really tough to get people in places.
Got it.
I think conferences they've kind of died down a little bit, which is sad.
Yeah, I guess so. I feel
I think that it's kind of like concerts, right? Concerts weren't booming again until this year.
Yeah.
This year is you're whoa. We're back. And I went to 4 concerts this year, and I was we're back.
Yeah.
I went to a concert last year, and I was this is not a concert. This is it's a festival. We're just chilling. We're not really rocking or we're not jamming. Right. You know what I mean? I didn't feel the energy was there. And I feel it just took a while for people we're going to come back to it. I also think with costs going up and stuff and people flying across country, they realize, I can just zoom into this thing instead of spending $1,200 to go over here and miss work on top of that.
Right.
So I understood it. So they had to cancel it. But yeah, in 2019, they had a conference at the University of Indiana, or Indiana University. Yeah, IU. And it was so fun. We spent the whole weekend there. It was a college town. We went out drinking with the coaches and like hanging out and meeting all the other coaches that were there. It was awesome. And I did my speed certification there. Technically, that's where I got like my master sports performance certification. But like, I'm not into certifications much. Like I think they're, like we said, it's knowledge. It's not about what the paper is or what the title is. It's about like what can you bring to the table and can you help whoever's in front of you.
Right.
But like being there with them, that taught me a lot. Like I learned so much from guys like Lee Taft, guys like Justin Kavanaugh, Will Fleming, who's an Olympic weightlifter, Dan Paff. Like I got to talk and hang out with all these guys, and so like just pulling in the knowledge, and then just kind of it trickled. It kept trickling and trickling, and I was like, okay, now what do I do with the knowledge?
Yeah.
And 2020 obviously happened, and this is the wildest thing. I guess this will probably lead into your question about like entrepreneurship and top level, but essentially. We were shut down, right? So, and I had plans to work with more athletes and stuff at that time.
Yeah.
Shut down. So I was like, all right, well, just like everyone else, what are we going to do now? So right, we Zoomed, and then I was like, I can't just Zoom. So I was like, I'm going to go to the park. So I just went to the local park here.
Yeah. And
just doing my own stuff. I was brought out speed cones and just doing my own workouts and saw these 2 high school kids that went to Fairfax High. And I was like, they were trying to get their sprints down. And I was just like, I can't watch this anymore. I gotta help them. So I went over and we just started working with them, and it took off from there. And I just started seeing them as of like for free. I didn't care. I was just like, I'm seeing my clients online. This is cool. Like I'd rather take you guys to a parking lot. Let's go run some sprints. We could be outside. We don't have to touch each other, right? Like it was a cool experience to like have them come out and start working with me. It's pretty cool now because one of those kids became a powerlifter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, like, I've seen his stories and stuff and, like, his benching and his squats and stuff. Like, he was a twig when I first saw him. So to see him, like, go from that to, like, 5 years later, he's putting up tons of weight. You're like, that's pretty cool, man. Like, that's pretty cool. And it was just all volunteer. I just was like, I want to help you. And what was crazy about that is it led to me starting Top Level joining Top Level because one of the coaches, Zach, saw me out there, and he was like, what do you do? And so I was like, I kind of don't know, man. I do a lot of stuff. I really can't tell you. I was like, I know how to train athletes. I can tell you that. And so he brought me out to work with one of his pitchers, 2 of his pitchers. One was an MLB guy and one was like post-MLB, wanted to get back, wasn't sure. And they both were like, we want to work with you now. And so, and he was a skills guy. So like I'm on the training side. So like it was a cool combination. And from there he asked if I wanted, he was like, hey, are you interested in taking over here and like doing this with us and Top Level as a baseball academy, me taking over the strength and conditioning performance side of things. And I was like, yeah. And that's what really kind of led into like the last, 2 years. So 2021 that happened. And then, this year I sold my stake in it because I want to do my own thing. And it was a really big experience for me to see not only like starting with the business, growth of a business, being the guy that, a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
There were so many things that I learned along the way and about myself, about who I need around myself in my life, who I want to work with, how I go about my business versus how other people do. And so it was like, I've learned so many things from this whole experience. And, it didn't really hit me until like all the paperwork was signed that like, hey, you're not longer an owner anymore. And I was just like, wow, the burden of like, I don't have to do this anymore.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with anything other than, and this is a lesson for everyone, like don't put all your eggs in the basket of others. Put it in yours. And I think I did that for way too long. It was like I was just giving myself to everybody. In relationships too. It wasn't just work. It was, girlfriends, ex-wife, other friends who didn't and I'm not gonna say give me stuff, but it's more like reciprocate that work, that love, that positive energy, having your back.
Dude, you're so generous. It's crazy. Like you let me, like when I was learning how to do this, I asked for your help.
Yeah.
You had me come to the house and you gave me your time and you showed me all these things and you know what I'm saying? You took me through it step by step. Like that's generosity. Like, and then, so like, it's a gift and a curse, for sure,
I think you have to protect it. You have to know who, and I didn't for the longest time because I didn't know. But you learn it over time. You're like, all right, you get burned enough, you're gonna be like, I don't want to touch that. I don't want to touch the stove anymore.
Right.
And you have to be selective about who you give your time to, because I've been burned for sure.
Yeah.
But I also have never changed my ways.
No, for sure.
You just get more cautious about it. You
Yeah.
know? And then you realize, you're like, what's important to you? Like, what do you value? So like this whole process of that, like 5 years ago till now, I'm such a different, like so different as a human, not as a human, but more just like how I approach things.
For sure.
You know, just in business and life and relationships, everything. So
Yeah.
But
no, for sure, man. With all that being said, obviously you were with Top Level, and you helped me like transition out of where my previous position. You know, like it was, I would say, like you and I don't think you've met Mike, but Mike were like you two were both like you were like
See the shoe guy.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right, because he had his own shoe company.
Yeah.
Like he was doing all the designs on the shoes, right?
Right.
And he was like, why aren't you doing your own thing?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So, but like if it wasn't for you, like the transition wouldn't I don't even know if it would have happened as soon as it did, and then it wouldn't have, even if it did, it wouldn't have nearly been as smooth as it was. But like obviously you were at St. Monica's, you were doing Top Level and your own stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which was a sick setup, by the way. Like obviously, like
it was cool.
Jason allowed you guys to like operate on campus. You were able to like store all your equipment on campus, and you were able to operate on campus, and whatever. Like you had the velo lab, and you had the performance training going on. I thought I was like, this is fucking sick. Like
it was cool.
You don't even need a facility. You're just doing this. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, with all that being said, if it wasn't for you being so generous and offering me the opportunity to work with that basketball team at the time, I probably wouldn't have jumped when I did. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
And so anyways, I want to say thank you for that, because that was huge. And also it was great to work with you, you know what I'm saying? Like it was, I got to be with someone else who like actually gave a shit, someone else who cared, someone else who was like constantly curious, someone else who wanted to learn, just like me, and someone else who loved their craft, who just like loved this shit, so yeah, so all of that was like super fun, and I learned a ton, not just from not even on the training side, but then again, like you were so generous, I was like, wait, I have to own my own business now. How do I do this? How do I get paid? What's an LLC? Like,
oh man,
you know what I'm saying? Like
I've made so many mistakes, man. So I'm like, if I can help you not make mistakes, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, but no, it was like all of that stuff, like it was just like you were just like, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? And like I feel I'm the same way, like that's how like I reciprocate love, and that's how I reciprocate like to people that I care about and everything. So it was great to be around that energy,
Good. I'm glad that I even had the opportunity to do that, honestly, because I remember when we talked on the phone, and rightfully so, you were apprehensive about leaving a comfortable situation, and I remember even asking you about that. Like I even remember the word you said, comfortable, like, because it's comfortable.
Yeah, I said comfortable.
It's like you got, and I remember that, and I was like, it's funny you say that, because we want to try to be, we're trying to be uncomfortable, and I know I preach that, I know you preach that, like to get to that next level, it's what growth is, right? Being uncomfortable. And I was just like, but there's something so empowering about being out on your own and being able to say you're owning yourself and what you're doing.
Right.
I just think I know for me, I'm not meant to necessarily work for somebody.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't think it's for everybody.
Where does that come from? Do you know?
Stubbornness, probably.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I think, no, it's funny, because I talked to my buddy about that the other day. Like, is it ego, or is it, actually, no, that's who I talked to. It was a good friend of mine. She's the mental therapist for the Royals.
Okay.
And I was just catching up with her, and I was like, I don't know if because she was like, would you ever work for an organization? And I was like, I don't know that I want to anymore. And it has nothing to do with anything other than I'm just such a free spirit, and I'm somebody who loves things to change often. That's just who I am. I don't, not to say that I don't follow the same principles or I don't have a foundation, but I like variability. I get bored quick. That's just who I am. And not to say I can't work with people either. It's just more like I just kind of want to do my own thing for a while.
No, it's great.
And so when I heard you were doing it, it got me excited because I'm like, oh, this is fun. Like, because there is something exciting about it and being able to go out and do your thing, create your brand,
right.
Put this together right now. Like, you're doing that.
Yeah.
There's people out there every day who are doing nothing, and it's not to knock them. It's just more like, I'm going to make something of the time that I have doing what I love in the way that I want to do it.
Yeah.
And if an opportunity comes up that's great, I'm not going to be stupid. Like, I'll be very contemplative. I'll contemplate it. I'll think about it. Let's go to the easy, basically. I'll think about it, right, and weigh it. Is it going to work or not? But yeah, I mean, I just remember that conversation with you, and when you said that word comfortable, I was like, now's the time to jump, because if you're comfortable, you're going to be annoyed with staying.
Right.
Because it's true. Like, comfortability does not promote you to become a better coach, a better person. And it's not to say that you should never be comfortable. It's just.
Yeah. No, I use that word on purpose because it's exactly what I meant it to be. I was like, I'm content with where I'm at.
I could tell that too, because I knew you knew that, but I knew that other piece based on how you, like what you were saying. It was like, I know he wants to really just do his thing.
Yeah. I just didn't know. I was like, I want to do something else. I just don't know what it is. Yeah. I just didn't know what it was at the time.
You don't need to know either.
Yeah.
I think that's something that, if you're out there and you want to start a business or you want to do something, like, you got to be smart. Like, I'm going to tell you to not do the mistakes that I did, which was I didn't really think it out too much. I think you definitely should think it out a little bit more. I've always been just like go and then adjust along the way. But I would definitely, like, if you're out there and you want to start something, do it. You don't have to have the exact plan. But if you know what's out there and you know that that's the goal, it's out in front of you, keep going towards it. Because you're going to hit something along the way.
It's also about being, like, confident in what you're capable of. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's a tough one.
I know that, like, on the training side, I know I can help anyone that crosses my path. But I also know that, like, I can get anyone to buy into me.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like, if I feel like, I don't know what it is, I feel like I make really great first impressions with people.
Sure.
For the most part, I would say. And all it takes is one, like, essentially all I'm trying to say is all it takes is one session. All it takes is one session to convert someone and be like, let's get this going,
If you're good at what you do and you're kind and you're personable, especially in the training industry, like, you're going to do well.
Yeah.
You're going to do well. And, like, I'm sure there's probably, like, maybe you can count on one hand how many people you've seen one time and that didn't come back.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe 5, maybe 2, maybe 3. You know what I mean? Like, it's same concept. Like, I was right there with you too on that, because it is a very personal thing. Training. I don't think people think about that much, but it's a very vulnerable place that you're working with people.
Yeah. No, for sure. I agree, man. Well, hold on. You were onto something there, and, like, you're decked out in all your own gear, so.
I got it, man. Someone's got to rep it.
Yeah, exactly, man. Like, you, dude, you got the branding down. Like, I love, like, the message. Obviously, like, it's genius, bro. You use the U, obviously, from your last name.
Yeah.
To create your brand. Everyone walks around saying Coach U. I think
that threw me off the most, honestly.
Why?
I think it's my own insecurity about, like, owning that, like the stage name. If you will. Does that make sense? Because it's like, I remember, because we talked about this off air, but my last name, like, it's not the easiest thing to say. Nobody really knew how to say it. So kind of just, when I was working at the Hollywood High School, I was just like, just call me Coach U. It's so much easier. I didn't want to be John. I didn't want to be Coach John.
Yeah.
I was just like, just call me Coach U. It's cool. And then it's kind of stuck. And then, like, having kids.
It works.
Dude, having kids call me or parents call me and, like, hey, Coach U. I'm like, oh, that's me. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean? It was just kind of, but it is cool. Yeah. Like, it kind of like flipped big time in 2020. Is obviously for COVID, like, kind of put us in a place where you had time.
Yeah.
And I was going through a divorce at the time, not because of COVID. It just happened to be, the right time for both of us to make a move in our life that was going to be better for us. And, I during that time, it was a 10-year relationship that I was getting out of, like 4 years of marriage, 6 years of a relationship. And when you're with somebody, especially through all your 20s, like, you're going to be coming out on the other side with some things to think about.
Yeah.
And so I journaled every day. I meditated every day. I've had therapy once a week. So all these things kind of added up. And before I moved out this is crazy. So COVID, March 15th, 2020, was shut down, I think. That was the day. I remember I moved out 2 weeks later, but it was already planned to. COVID happened as like I was already doing all these other things. And I had started the podcast as well, like earlier that month. So like I started the podcast as like, look, if there's any time to do it, everyone's home right now. I can get interviews for days. I got all the coaches. Like this is going to be the time.
Yeah.
So I started it. COVID happened. Moved out. Maybe like 5 months later, I'm still working on the podcast. I release it. Got new episodes up, and then I was just talking to a buddy about something. It was about life, and we were just talking. And he's just like, man, like you just be you. And I was like, shut up. And I just like, it came up that way, and I just started, that's where the BU came from. It was just like, be yourself. Like, I think that is where it like fully started, and then I just kind of took off from there of like, all right, I got a design. I had the Coach U logo, I had the Coach U symbol and all that stuff. But then I was like, going back to my parents, being kind, promoting positivity. If I'm going to take it back real quick to high school, like in high school, I loved psychology. I still do. I love psychology, philosophy, sociology, like anything that has to do with human interaction, human communication, behaviors, all that stuff. And I was in a thing called peer helpers. So like imagine I was a senior in high school, and you have the kids who get in fights. You take them to a room kind of like this, and you just talk to them. And like I was almost like a big brother therapist.
Yeah.
And I had always been in that role. And I look back now, even going back to like when I was a kid, it's the same concept. Like I always wanted to be the leader. I always wanted to be the captain. I always wanted to be in the middle of it. Even in college, like I was a kicker, but I was one of the captains. That's just who I am. That's who I always have been. And I wanted the brand to stand for that. Like I think I think because a lot of this came from my own insecurities, my own thoughts about myself, was like, I don't even love who I am. I don't even understand who I am. I kept looking outside for answers.
Right.
And that's where I was like, I got the answers. Like, why do I keep doing that? And I see other people doing it. And that was really the kind of like the birth of it all, is like coming to this understanding of writing through my journal, seeing what comes out. And dude, it was like hundreds of pages. And it all just burst from there, man. And the message really is just about self-ownership, self-love.
Yeah.
Like it's easy to say peace and love, and it's easy to say be yourself and like all that. But there's more to it for me, because it really is about showing yourself what you're capable of, showing the world who you are, and not being afraid of it. And I think that was a big thing for a while. I was just like, it's an imposter syndrome. I don't think I'm as good as this person. And it's like, what are you comparing yourself to? What are you actually comparing to? Are you comparing to another human? Like, why? Why are you doing that to yourself? And so like all of these thoughts started coming up for that. And then dude, like then I just had to have fun and got creative. It started out as own you, love you, be you. And that was the 3. And then all these other little things start coming up, and I have a booklet, and I just have write an idea. It's just a content book that I have. I don't know if it's going to be a book. I don't know if it's going to be a podcast episode. I don't know if it's going to be a slogan. I don't know. But I have all these new things that just kept coming up from experiences in life, and learning things and just going through stuff, and it just kind of all meshed. So yeah, and I want people to represent themselves. Yeah. And not, like I love Nike. Got Nikes on. But like I want people to like really look within, and that's what the whole idea is. Toss this on, rep yourself, remind others. I mean, that's why I got this one on. It says, hope you have a nice day. It's like, how often do we have positive messages towards other people? We're in a world now where phones and, we're constantly in our own world. Yeah. And sometimes it's easy, especially in a big city like LA. Like, you're not going to go by every single person and say hello. That's just not possible. You go to a smaller town, you get out of here, people are, hello, hey, how are you? You're like, whoa, this is weird. I want more of that. I want more kindness. I want people to believe in themselves. I want people to show their true colors and not hide it, because we have too many copies. Yeah. Way too many copies of people. And you go online, you're like, oh, I want to be that person. I want to be that person. I'm like, why don't you just be yourself? Yeah. It's hard. But that's why, I'm trying to push for it.
No, it's amazing, bro. And it's cool. You're like you're taking it to another level. You're like, man, you guys should see this guy's Canva account. It's crazy.
It's too messy, man.
The Canva's crazy.
There's so many projects, and like I've started projects, and like I'll go back to them after a few months, And because like you might get like brain freeze, or maybe that idea
Yeah.
just needs to sit for a little bit.
Right.
Maybe you need to go through a little bit more. So yeah, my Canva, I have some fun ones in there too.
Yeah, man. You got hats, shirts, sweaters, mugs. I don't even know what else, but you got.
Oh man,
you have it all.
It's kind of crazy what you can make on that site. Like,
Yeah.
it's cool. Yeah, I got main things, man. Hats and hoodies and tees.
Yeah.
We got some cool mugs though.
Yeah.
I like coffee mugs.
Yeah. I remember seeing all that. I was like, fuck, this guy's been putting in work. That's all I thought of it. I was like, damn, you've been putting in work. Like, and it's dope. And and it's all for yourself. It's all for you. So like, it's cool you're doing that. So with that being said, like, would you attribute that, I don't know, that mentality or anything like to any role models? Like, if you have like up to 3 role models of like, who are they and why?
Man, I mean, the first one that comes to mind is Jackie Robinson.
Okay.
I almost wore that shirt today, just because he's the epitome of like having to deal with hardships.
Yeah.
And through a white man sport back in a white man time. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how he didn't kill somebody. Like, he's getting the hate and so much jeering and just awfulness thrown his way.
Yeah.
And he's a stand-up citizen, and he never turned. He doesn't let it bother him or how he acts towards people. And I don't know. It's interesting because I think like some people would say, oh well, that's being a pussy, or you letting people walk over you. And it's
no.
I'm like,
it's like what you just said earlier. It's like you don't let that shit change you.
It does. It shouldn't. And because when you realize that, and I think Jackie Robinson probably did. I mean, I don't want to speak for him, but I'm assuming you realize in that moment, like, you're not going to change these people, and it's kind of pointless to even give any of your energy to them because you're taking now time out of your life to give to somebody who's giving you hate for no reason.
Right.
Like, and so his patience, his kindness, and what a freaking athlete. Like, he played so many sports. He was a track star. He was a baseball star.
Damn.
Though Vince Scully told a great story one time where he actually beat Jackie Robinson in a ice skating race because Jackie Robinson didn't know how to ice skate. But yeah, so I think Jackie Robinson's up there for me big time. And these aren't in order. It's just like kind of what popped into my head.
Yeah.
I think over the past few years, I've grown to appreciate how much my parents influenced me as a human. And I think I definitely had a spell there where I was angry, and not necessarily directly at them. I just think I saw what I didn't get, and so I had to process all that. And, they, like I said, like, to be in a world around people and to be able to just produce kindness and to not, let people walk on you, but also, like, turn the other cheek and just walk away.
Yeah.
They've taught me how to be a good human.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate them very much for doing that. And, in the sports training world, I've got a lot of coaches that I've learned from that I look up to. One who's always had my back and who's always looked out for me is Justin Kavanaugh. He's an Olympic sprint coach. He's worked with NFL athletes. He works with high-level, like, corporate people. So he's always, how can I help you? And he's working with other people, and like he's taking time out of his day to send me a message on Instagram, say, yo, what can I do for you this year? What can I do as a mentor, as a coach to help you? And he's always kept it real, and I've appreciated that because I think a lot of the world can be very fluff.
Yeah.
And you don't get that realness and you don't get that honesty. I also think it's hard for people to be honest nowadays because you'll just get ridiculed if you say something incorrect or you say something that maybe offends somebody. But you have to be honest and you have to be real about the world you live in.
Yeah.
And so he's been a big role model in that way. And he was the one who originally was like, well, if you want to get into that baseball, this is 2017 after I met him. We got on the phone. And he was like, go be Cressy of the West. If you really want it, go get it.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things, like, I never really had that before. So it was like a big brother mentor, you got this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I didn't believe in myself.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the biggest lesson from all that is I never believed in myself, and it took me a long time to do so.
Yeah.
Even though everyone around me saw it, I couldn't. It was like my own gift. It was like a curse.
Same, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think I'm probably not alone in that. I'm sure you probably felt that.
Yeah.
I know many people have felt that, and it's good to have people on your side who are doing it, who have had experience, who got your back, and will let you know, like, you got this, you good.
No, mate, yeah. That's fine. As you were saying that, I don't know why, but I thought of B-Mac, Brandon McDaniel.
He's amazing.
Because I probably meet up with him like once or twice a year to get coffee.
Yep.
And he's so generous with his time and everything, but he is similar. He's just like, he'll sit down with coffee. He's like, how'd your year go? How do you want this year to go? What are your plans? And, you know, obviously he'll like pour whatever insight, whatever, you know, wisdom or whatever, you know, whatever he feels like sharing. It's always like super impactful, and it's like stuff you already know. And I don't know what it is. He's just like, I don't know what it is. He's just a charismatic dude. So anything he says, I want to listen. I can't even explain it, but like, yeah, very insightful, knows what he's doing. He's been there, done that. You know, he's obviously an OG in this game, and
Yep.
I really respect his opinion. So, yeah, and he's super generous with his time. So, yeah, shout out to B-Mac. Yeah, I gotta get you on here soon, bro.
Yeah, you gotta get him in here.
Yeah, for sure. I will. I definitely will.
Off season. He's a little busy right now.
Yeah, he's a little
preoccupied.
Yeah, no, I'll get him for sure. Dope, man. All right, last one before we get into the lightning round. Let's talk about the baseball stuff. Let's talk about like you. I feel like this is a good transition anyway. So like, obviously you were working with kids at Hollywood High. You're doing stuff for free.
Yep.
Fast forward, you somehow get into top level and St. Monica's and big into baseball. Take me through all that.
I mean, playing baseball, you know, my whole life, and I'm going to count softball as baseball just in the sense of like it's literally the same thing. It's just a different speed.
Yeah.
You know, I always loved baseball. I've always loved playing sports, period. And so I knew I wanted to work with athletes. I think a big piece actually why I did leave top level too is because I don't want to just work with baseball only. But it was an opportunity for me.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I still love working with baseball players. It's not that I never will. It's just more like I know that I can help more people, and I have a bigger dream of what I want to do. But I mean, I got into the baseball world and I learned so much. I dove into it. I went to the Dodger symposiums. I asked all their coaches questions. There were other coaches, like the Nationals coach was there, the strength coach was there, and so I was like, what do you guys not do? What do you do? You know, I'm just like, I want to know because I want to bring the best I possibly can to what I'm doing.
Exactly.
And that's what I was doing for 2 years was studying, planning, you know, and executing and just trying to bring the best possible knowledge I could to the kids and to the program and try to build something great. It was tough. It was definitely it was a good challenge for me, and it showed me what I'm capable of. And you know, I think what was the original question?
I mean, like, just talk about how you got into like training baseball in particular.
Okay.
I feel like at this point you're pretty specialized. I would say you're pretty specialized with baseball
for sure,
which is a great thing, great place to be. Yeah, just go with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the misconceptions with baseball that I didn't really think about. It's funny because in hindsight, you're like, how would you not think about that? But like rotational, frontal plane stuff, like being able to move side to side and then also produce power from those angles. And so I had to dive in really deep to different things. And I've been on Eric Cressy stuff since I was 2011.
Yeah.
And so I did his sturdy shoulder program. I went to his symposium in 2018, and you know, like I learned a lot from these guys of how to implement. And it can be overwhelming. And I'm sure you've run into this too, where like you go to a conference and you're like, that's great. Now I'm going to implement all of it. And you're like, that's not possible.
Yeah.
But I ran into that a lot of times. And so, you know, I had to like really like kind of hunker down and be like, all right, what are like the main things I need to be focusing on? And that was tough because with baseball, you have pitchers who are going to be a specific need in how they train.
Yeah.
And then you have an outfielder who has a specific way, just like a DB would, or just like you would have probably a point guard or a center, different body types, different types of mobility, different types of force production, right?
Yeah.
All these things would pop up. And so it was kind of like a puzzle. And I'm like, all right, how can I get the most for everybody?
No, for sure.
And just tinker here and there for specific things.
For sure.
And that's what I had to do a lot. And going into St. Monica's, taking over multiple sports, it was cool because I already had a base.
Right.
And I'm like, now I just got to flip a couple things. So it's not so different in the sense of like, you're still squatting, you're still deadlifting, you're still lunging and pressing. Like, it's just we change things here and there. Like a lot of people don't bench press their pitchers because it holds their scaps in place, and then it puts a lot of pressure here on the front of the shoulder. And so you're like, all right, well, but they'll do dumbbells because it's more free, right? So there's little tiny things you could tinker with, and that's really all it is. It's just tinkering with what the mechanic is, you know? And so I think the biggest thing that I learned isn't even about baseball. It's about how I can take what that person needs and fulfill it with the movements or the patterns that I'm giving.
For sure. I mean,
right?
you need a needs analysis for the sport, for the position, and then you take those and then throw that in the context of the person in front of you.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So like I gave this presentation recently on needs analysis. And I actually used baseball as the example just because like I didn't feel like talking about basketball. So I was like,
that's a first.
Yeah, I know. I was just like, let me throw myself a curveball and everyone else a curveball. So
I see what you
and that's why. And then actually that was the one that's the one where I asked you to come because I want you to come see it. But anyways, it was like position specific tasks. Like obviously, right, pitchers. You're on the mound, elevated. It's elevated. I don't know what the dimensions are. It doesn't matter. But like obviously, pitchers typically get injured within the first like week or two of season. You're talking about like UCL, Tommy John. You're talking about rotator cuff, slap tears, whatever it is, right? And then you have infielders versus outfielders. Obviously, outfielders, you have more distance to cover, right, with fly balls or whatever it is.
Yep.
Infielders, you have shorter distances. You got to move faster, quicker changes of direction.
Yep.
So whereas outfielders, you would consider like more linear acceleration because you're gonna see a fly ball, you're gonna turn, sprint, catch, right? And then what am I missing?
You got the catcher.
Yep. Right? Catcher. You obviously have to be able to access that position.
Yep.
That would suck. Living in that deep squat. Fuck that.
Yeah. No, I'm good.
Fuck that.
The hip mobility these guys have, I will say, it was pretty wild watching them like practice because I'm like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And I'm a trainer.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this for a while. Like, I can't get in those positions.
Yeah.
My hips aren't like that. But those guys, dude, it's wild. They'll be doing a Cossack squat while catching a curveball at 90 miles an hour. You're like,
right.
How do you do that?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
No, it's crazy. But it's also like I want nothing to do with that.
I caught one time in my life as a baseball player, and I hated every second of it.
Damn.
I would never play that position again.
Yeah. No way. But yeah, anyway, I broke down like each position, specific needs of each position and whatever. It was fun to do because I was like, I'm learning this shit. I had to learn this to be able to present this. You know? So it was cool to do that. Dope, man. All right. You know what?
Do you want me to talk more about like exercises and stuff
with
baseball?
I'll just throw one at you because we'll talk about this. And this might be like, it's like I just thought of the most controversial thing I could think of.
Oh, please do.
All right. So overhead, I feel like this is such a stupid discussion. Anyways, overhead stuff with pitchers, where you at? Overhead pressing with pitchers.
I think it's all contextual. I think it depends on the person's training age, like or how well do they move, what's their competency like, right? That's a big thing for me. Like I'm not going to give somebody. It doesn't matter if it's overhead or not. Like, can you even get your arm overhead?
Right.
All right. So if it's a pitcher and they got good mobility and they're doing chin-ups, then hell yeah, I'm going to have them press overhead because they got to get there.
Yeah.
Right. We got to get their shoulders healthy, but it's got to be appropriate. It's got to be at the right context. I love landmine presses because it's just an easy one that you can absolutely get that overhead stuff in. One thing that you told me, and it was funny because like I was like, wow, how did I not like think of that? You were like, yeah, that's how I get my overhead shoulder stuff in, was doing down dog push-ups, and I was like, oh, that's great. Just like so yes, absolutely, they got to get overhead, so they should absolutely be able to access that. I press them overhead. I think as a most athletes, I think, should be using dumbbells and kettlebells for their like free movements like that, like an overhead press. And I say that because it just gets everything spiraled together, gets everything working together. You're not stuck in a position that you're not really going to be in on a field. Yeah. Right. If it's producing like straight overhead force, fine, I get it. Like grab a barbell and press it. But again, it's all contextual. It's like who's in front of me, what capabilities do they have, also what are they comfortable with.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we get lost on a lot as coaches. It's like, here's the exercises I'm thinking of. And they get there and they're like, I'm not confident in this move. I'm not going to force them to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to modify it and see, like, where can I get you to get out of that headspace so you can focus on this.
Yeah, build your confidence, right? Something I preached in that presentation after that was, the 3 C's: confidence, competence, and capacity.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So, and that applies to everything. Like,
100%.
So, like, and this is like in the context of like movement patterns and movement proficiency, is like meet your person where they're at, build the confidence, build the competence, build the capacity, and then progress to whatever it is that's next, whatever is necessary.
Easy to follow.
Right.
Just like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like, I don't know. Hopefully, I guess it's still controversial, but like,
I think it depends on who you talk to. Now.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously we're progressing a lot in the strength world, right? Things are getting like look at loaded stretches now. Look at FRC. Right. Look at like, have you heard of CrossFit in forever?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's just like we like 5 years have gone by, and I feel like the whole training world has changed.
Yeah.
And for the better. And it's funny because I was actually looking at something from CrossFit earlier, and I was like, this is good. You know, just goes to the point of like showing that there are so many tools out there that every single category of movement methodology can offer you. But if you build your toolbox well enough to where you can use it and say like, this now makes sense for me to use this.
Right.
Then it's like, okay, that's what I try to do.
It's no longer a square peg round hole, you know.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. I want to say one more thing on like the pitchers real quick, because I think with just like in general, one thing that I think gets missed a lot is the mobility of hips.
Yeah.
And also eccentric from the shoulder. So like eccentric ability, how well you can control your motion going
decelerate,
down. With your so deceleration for the shoulders, and then also deceleration for that front leg, because there's a lot of force going to that front leg, and if you
say it's like
have that break,
I would say it's isometric strength.
Isometrics are huge in there.
Yeah.
End range, because like you're getting to really crazy end ranges. If you watch a pitcher or even just an outfielder or an infielder. Watch their back, watch their shoulder, watch their hips. Like, everything bends and everything rotates.
Yeah.
And if you're a person who's stiff or stuck in certain areas, that's where you're going to get locked up in different places. And I can speak firsthand on that. It's not fun. Like, you're going to run into some injuries at some point.
Yeah. No, for sure. I'm working with volleyball now.
Yeah.
And volleyball is similar to baseball in that regard,
sure.
And then similar to basketball in a different regard.
It is.
Like lower extremity, basketball, upper extremity, baseball, almost. Yep. And the reason I say that is like you have to consider overhead swing, deceleration of the shoulder, right? So you have to think end range, external rotation, strength, and mobility. Obviously flexion, and then like you said, deceleration, strength. And then you got to think T-spine mobility, because you need to think an extension, like rotation and extension, because now you're same with baseball. Common injury in baseball, and I'm very, very confident it's similar in volleyball, is spondylosis. You know, stiff, like having a stiff
upper.
Been
having a lot more recently too.
Yeah, stiff upper back. So like things I have to incorporate more, because I'm sure you've seen, I do like a bajillion ankle and knee things for baseball or for basketball. Now I have to let's say I've like mastered that. Great. All right. Now I have to master the shoulder and the thoracic spine.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I can better suit like my volleyball athletes.
Oh, let's go.
So
man. Let's get into the gym. Let's just mess around. That's where like I think it's fun, because then you get to bring your creativity to it. Like I can even like you talk to any coach, they'll bring their stuff, you bring your stuff, you combine it, it's gold.
Yeah, dope. Yeah, it'll be fun. You came by. I'm slowly transforming the space. So
I saw some of it on IG. It looks good.
Yeah. Thanks.
It looks
good. I'm gonna get these new squat racks in there soon.
Little by little, baby.
Yeah.
Little by little. Build the bricks.
It'll be dope. All right, man. Last part. Let's have some fun.
Let's do it.
All right, lightning round. So I'll ask you about 5 questions.
Okay.
Answers can be as long or as short as you want them to be. All right. First one. So you got a reservation for 6 people, including you. So 5 other people that you can invite to happy hour to your favorite bar or restaurant to kick it with. And these are people like dead or alive.
Okay.
So 5
Ooh.
people you want to hang out with.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be biased and say my lady, Amanda, would
Okay.
actually be there. My future wife. I man, there's so many people I would love to talk to, but I do think Marcus Aurelius, a stoic
Okay.
king,
Yeah.
a king at the time. If you haven't read any of his stuff, man, like to be the most powerful person in the world, yet to have the most down to earth mindset, and he writes it. Like you're just like he has all these insightful things that he could do anything he wanted without repercussion, literally anything. He's writing about life and being kind to people and taking self reflection and it's our time to self reflect and time to meditate and time to like even looked at his own like vulnerabilities and talked about them openly.
That's cool.
And I'm like, I want to talk to you more, right?
Yeah.
I want to ask you questions.
Josh also said Marcus Aurelius.
That does not surprise me. That does not surprise me. Steve Carell.
Oh, okay.
The Office, and I've never watched any actor before where I go like he's just genuinely like you can tell that's just who he is.
Yeah.
And you're like I just want to. He's always full of life and fun and goofy, and you're like I just want to be around that energy, So I would say Steve Carell is definitely up there, and obviously I'm a huge Office fan, so like it would just be fun to talk to him,
Yeah.
And I love the process, so I would want to know the behind the scenes stuff. What were the hard times, like
Right.
when did you know that it was time to go? Why did you leave? I want to know like
Yeah.
all that stuff too. Man, I think Dan Patrick
Okay.
is another big one for me. I listen to him every day. I watch his show every day, and he's just I don't know. He's fun on the radio. He and Malcolm Gladwell are who I kind of personify when it comes to my own work, and I try to learn from them. So I would love to just pick his brain about the life in general, all this because he's seen sports for days. So it'd be fun to hear all the history and like the things that he grew up with. And he loves sports and he loves doing this. So it's like I would love to talk to him about that.
Yeah.
Man, who's that? 4 people. So
Yeah.
let me see. Man, who's another good one? I mean, Michael Jordan. It's kind of hard to not have him at a table. Although I think he would not let anyone else talk. So I might not want that one. Man, oh man. Who else? Oh, you know who I would love? Chadwick Boseman.
Oh, okay.
Black Panther. Having knowing what he went through and not saying anything about it and still producing what he did with the kindness. And I've heard so many good stories about him. I've read amazing stories about him and just who he was and very and I actually had a friend who trained at a Crunch over here on Sunset.
Okay.
And Chadwick used to go in there before he was, on movies and stuff. And go figure, he played 42 Jackie Robinson in the Jackie Robinson movie.
Oh yeah.
But just a kind human, like those are the people I want to be around. I'd say the last one, Eminem.
Okay.
Just because to me, he's the best rapper of all time. Like lyrically at least, and just writing, I just don't think anyone holds a candle to him. And he's just real, and I want to hear more real. I think because I have like we all have that like animalistic side of us, but I wasn't really in touch with that like harder side. He grew up in the hard side. Like I would love to hear his dog mentality. I would love to hear the realness of life and the things he had to go through. And I mean, that's the reason why Amanda, like my lady, is so important to me too, because like I saw the struggle, like growing up in a very, very poor area and then coming to like earn your right to be here, earning your job, earning your money, and earning your friends. Like it's inspiring. So I want to be around people who are intelligent. So I would invite anyone who's intelligent and who has some kind of life advice of how to live a happier, more peaceful life.
Yeah, dope. That's well said. That's cool, man. All right, going into music. Give me 5.
Woo.
Your 5 favorite artists right now.
Ooh, man, right now or like all time?
All time.
Linkin Park.
Okay.
Like, they got me through so many workouts, man, and so many just hard times in my life. I was a huge, I still am. It was a bummer when Chester passed away.
Yeah.
I had just seen them and I had tickets to go see them again because they were about to tour Snoop on their new album. Yeah, I know.
Snoop.
Yeah,
What
people don't realize this about Linkin Park. They're really diverse, really
I
diverse,
mean, yeah.
and they are worldwide. Like you go,
Yeah.
they are global.
For sure.
I was part of their Linkin Park Underground, and I would always get these pictures in the email of like all the fan fests and stuff. Millions of people. It's unreal. And then I won a couple contests to see them live and then meet them. So
Wow.
it was cool to see them, to talk to them. Number 2, Tom Petty.
Okay.
He also died a week after I saw his last concert.
Wow.
At the Hollywood Bowl.
You're bad luck.
Oh man, I swear I know, right? It was terrible. It's Eminem, already said him, so like he's a big one for me in the rap world. Like it's tough because like in the rap world I could go down a whole rabbit hole, but M's there for me big time. Man, number 4, I got 2 more.
Yep.
I do love me some NF. I do love me some
Yeah,
NF.
you do.
I do, man. It was fun. It's funny because like new music isn't really like hitting it for me that well. I get some good stuff here and there, but lyrically, if you read his words, it's really powerful because he's also a person who's gone through a lot of trouble in his life, and he's had a lot of drama and trauma, all of it, and he's come out on top. He takes the negative and turns it into a positive, and that's literally who I am as a person. Like I believe that if you have the perspective in life of negativity, you're gonna draw more of that. You're gonna produce negativity in your life if that's how you think.
Right.
And if you play the victim, and he doesn't, and he took his traumas and turned them into his career, and it's kind of awesome to see.
Yeah.
And it's inspiring to me because it's like that's exactly what I've been trying to do, this whole time. So NF is definitely on there, which is funny because like I never would have thought that. You asked me that 2 years ago, I'd been like, no, not even close. Man, I think the last one. There's so many good ones, man. Queen.
Yeah. All right. They're fun, man. They're good.
Like who doesn't love? I'm sorry. Like you put on any Queen songs, Bohemian Rhapsody. I'm gonna go up on stage. It's just gonna happen. But Fat Bottom Girls, Don't Stop Me Now. Even in the movie that came out, Bohemian Rhapsody. It was just like I loved the music they made. They are fun. So yeah, 100%. Those are my top 5.
All right. Love that. That's dope. All right, let's keep going with the top 5. The list questions are fun. Top 5 favorite athletes of all time.
Number 1, yeah, I'm gonna go Jackie Robinson. Like I said just earlier, what I said about him, he represents how to be a good human and how to deal with adversity and hard times and how to do it with your pride. And I think a lot of people, especially in the athletic world, especially now, it's like diva central. Like it's kind of nuts, man.
Don't get me started.
I know you know.
James Harden.
That's one of many, right? Like
yeah.
It's but Jackie he has that human quality to him that
he did it with grace,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ken Griffey Jr. is up there for me too. Just a kid. I grew up backwards hats, like with a big smile on your face, gold chain. Like I loved Griffey. I still love Griffey, and he was one of the most fun things for me to watch as a kid. So he was up there, or he's definitely up there. Albert Pujols, I grew up as a St. Louis Cardinals fan, so like maybe people may not know about him, but one of the greatest right-handed hitters of all time, and just same concept, like does it with grace. He does it with kindness, and I think I always gravitate to that like happy, that I'm not gonna say non-dog mentality because they definitely have it, but it's not outwardly in your face. It's here, you know what I mean? They hold it. Whereas like you get guys like MJ or Kobe, and it's different. It's like they're like it. Yeah. That's why MJ's on my list at number 4 because
undeniable.
Who didn't grow up loving it? Like I'm sorry, like I grew up in the 90s. Like there's no way I didn't have a pair of Jordans. There's no way that he didn't influence me in some way. Yeah. Everyone wanted to be like Mike, no matter what sports you played. It was like he's Michael Jordan. Like come on. Yeah. So for sure. And then Tiger Woods.
Yeah, Tiger's a great one.
I'm gonna tie him at 5, so 5A, 5B, Bo Jackson.
Okay.
Because if you haven't seen the documentary on You Don't Know Bo on ESPN 30 for 30,
I haven't seen it.
The dude he's probably the greatest athlete ahead of Deion Sanders. Whoa. Athlete to play any sport. The dude is unreal. He was fast, he was big, he was strong, and then he's just a normal dude, which is cool. Like now he's just living in I can't remember, it was like Georgia or somewhere. He's hunting, hanging out with his granddaughters, and loving life. He's not in the limelight, and I just think it's pretty cool. It's like he did it. He represented what he did. He broke his hip playing football, and then came back to play baseball and hit home runs. And you're just like, mad props to you, man. So
Damn.
yeah, so Tiger Woods is the MJ of golf, and he represented the same concept too. So
I mean, Tiger overcame so much,
man,
over and over again. So, no, for sure, Tiger's a great one. All right. When things get tough for you, like where do you draw your strength from? Is there something you go back to?
Man,
or someone?
I mean, I do a lot of thinking. I used to write a lot more. I haven't felt the need to, but it used to be a lot of writing. Now it's just a lot of thinking, a lot of self-reflection, giving myself like time to not have headphones in, not have a screen in front of me.
Yeah.
And I think we have all the answers. We have what we need. I do think there's times we need to talk to somebody, a friend, a girlfriend, a friend, a therapist, a coach, a mentor. But most of the time we need to think out our thoughts. And I don't think I knew how to think out my thoughts or process them or even articulate them. So when times get tough, man, I just look within and no joke, I'll look at myself in the mirror and just look straight in my eyes and just stare for a few seconds. Like, what are you going to do? Like, where are you at right now? Are you good? What do you need? All right. So like in tough times, if you're sad, if you're depressed, if you're not feeling good that day, because we all have those days.
Yeah.
What are you going to do for yourself right now that can help you spin a more positive mindset? What are you going to do to get you out of this funk? Right? Don't ignore the funk. Don't neglect the funk.
Yeah.
Embrace it. Embrace the funk. Embrace the bad stuff. I just went through the injury this year, and like this was probably the darkest year. The last year and a half has probably been the darkest, hardest year and a half of my life in terms of just like dealing with stuff and people and injuries and emotions. And I just kept going. I don't know how else to do it. I think my parents taught me that with just that immigrant mentality of like, put your head down, go, and do the best you possibly can, and just bring your best self. And I always have to constantly remind myself of that. Like, I don't care what mood you're in. I don't care what's going on in life.
Yeah.
You have to bring your best self, because at the end of the day, that's you showing who you are. If you don't do that, you're going to be leaving yourself not proud of how you're acting.
Yeah.
And so I always go within, because you have to. And, my most intimate conversations are either with my therapist or my girlfriend. And, it's like you have to know who you can trust with the vulnerabilities. And there's certain people I can trust with certain things. There's certain people that I'm like, all right, I don't want to talk about specific things. But that's knowing what works for you and what doesn't. So,
yeah.
But, yeah, looking within and then having a support system that supports you, listens to you, and doesn't shove aside what you're saying or what you're feeling.
Right.
Because you need to be heard. You need to be validated. Every single person in this world does. So.
Totally. No, that's really well said. I love that. I love that question, man. It always gets great.
That's a good one.
Gets great answers. Yeah. What is that? 1, 2, 3. That was 4.
I think so.
All right. Well. All right. This one's always kind of fun too. All right. If you could relive one sporting event ever, which one would it be and why? So it could be one that you were at, one that you wish you were at.
Oh, like that played or like attended?
Whatever, either.
Oh, I hit the upright in one game that meant nothing to the game itself, but it took this. Like, I'm so mad that I missed this field goal. It was the only field goal that I ever missed.
Damn.
And it's not for the perfection. It was more so the execution of it. I know I could have done better on it. And How
many yards?
That one was 39, 40, somewhere around there.
Okay.
And it was going in. Last second, just like tailed off and hit the upright. And I was like, oh, that's a bummer. That's a bummer. So I would say going back to that, because there was something about kicking that was so – it's more pressure than you think. Like,
no, for sure.
Like, it's pretty wild. You got these – I'm not a big dude. So, like, I'm out there in pads, and I got these dudes who are, like, easily 40 pounds bigger than me.
It's like shooting a free throw, but there's people running at you.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And they want to clobber you, you know what I mean? Like, obviously they can't get after me. I may have sold a kicking interference here and there. You kind of have to. But, yeah, man, I would say, honestly, just like my whole college football experience, I wish I could have redone a little bit of it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, I love every sport that I've ever been a part of, and I've just appreciated being a part of it. And I love playing games. I love sports, period. So, yeah.
All right, dope, man. That's cool. All right, man. Well, that's it, man. I appreciate you coming out again. Like, I just want to give you your flowers, man. I want again, like, this wouldn't have happened without your help, without your, your generosity, like, without,
Awesome.
without your insight, your advice, your expertise. So, like, just thank you so much. Thank you for helping me, like, get this going. Thank you for helping me getting, like, my own business going, and I don't even know, everything in between. So,
hey, man, that's what we're here for. And we're here to help each other. So I'm glad I can provide that. And if anyone else out there has questions, like, please feel free to reach out. Like, I would love to help anyone else who has questions on this stuff, whether it be entrepreneurship or podcasting or sports training. I don't know. I'm kind of like, it's weird because I don't feel like I have like a thing that I do. I just kind of I like doing it all. So I'm glad I can help you in any way possible.
No,
man.
of course, bro.
I love seeing other people grow, and so I'm happy for you.
No, thank you so much.
Of course.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, that's it for today's episode. Remember, please let me get a like, a subscribe, some engagement, some comments. Let's reach more people, and man, let's all get better together. All right, peace.